everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Web of Wyrd. My name is Davyd Farrell, and I'm going to be your co-host for this special edition. And as always, I'm joined by the one, the only, the rock and roll star, the herbalist extraordinaire, the iridologist par excellence, the one and only Mr. P. Jackson Main in the house. Booyaka, bro.
Thank you, bro. It's brilliant to be here again. Brilliant to be chatting to you. It's been a while, as we discussed earlier
Right.
off camera. It's been, I don't know what, two,
Yeah,
3 months since we last did something like this, and
I
both of
think
us, I think,
so.
yeah. But sounds like each of us have been going through the changes, through the mill.
Yes, yes. So this is episode number 42, everybody. We'll get into the main bulk of the show in 5 to 10 minutes. We're just doing our usual preview here on YouTube. As always, I've got Pete bound by manacles so that he doesn't get us into trouble on YouTube. We're going to keep all of the real juicy stuff for Rumble, so please do watch the end of this and then follow the Rumble link, which we'll put up on screen, and we'll see you over there in a few minutes. But just before we do that, bro, a quick introduction. Yeah, it's been a couple of months, right? I think that we've all been deep in our journeys, I would say, and our processes, and that's going to be part of today's show. But it's good to see you, bro. I think last time we spoke was maybe just before you went on a holiday to Greece, right?
Correct. That's right. And that was that that takes us back 2.5 months. So
Wow. Yeah, so you're back now in Blighty. I'm here currently in the US. Post-election, it's been quite the experience to be a foreigner
yeah,
in the United States during this time.
I
So I hope to be
keep
able to
talking
offer.
about that.
Right, yeah. So as always, me and the bro did chat for a while before we jumped on and hit record, so that we could get our notes together for the show, but also just to compare notes because it's been a while. And being on opposite sides of the pond these days, we're dealing with slightly different environmental situations and energetic terrain, we can say. And a lot has happened, right, dude, since the summer, I think, energetically speaking, and physically speaking. So, what's on your mind right now to lead us into the main bulk of the show, dude?
I want to start with something positive for me anyway, and that
Yeah.
is the publication of my second book on
Yes.
immunology. And this was the sort of big event of the autumn for me, really. And I did get the chance to introduce this, to lecture on the basic idea and the content of the book. Um, at the Guild of Naturopathic Iridologists, which is my professional association, which covers iridology in the UK and abroad. And that was a really, really great opportunity. It was very well received. The book, I think, has been flying off the shelves, I think is the expression. And so far, I'm liking what I'm having, what I'm hearing back from it. It was a bit of a punt, this book. It was kind of a bit left field, a bit of a rhizomatic flight from what was going before. And but I am actually really pleased with it, and I think it's going somewhere. And I'm even more since I've done it, starting to work with the system that I've almost created here, and finding out that it's super powerful in terms of helping people to process really what they're going through. It's all about how we take command of our physical being, how that physical being is a projection in 3D of our immortal soul, our multidimensional personality, and how that comes through, and how the iris can be a guide to what it is we're going to be dealing with on this plane during our journey. That's what the book is about. So
Mm.
if that
Well,
sounds interesting to you, please do please do check in. You can get it through me. I'm sure David will put my website address up at the end of this, and it'll be available on the website. But also, you can email me and get a copy too, or it's available from Aeon Books Direct and from all good booksellers, as they say. So, bit of shameless self-promotion there. I hope you don't mind. But I
no,
wanted
not at all.
but it was also because, it's easy to concentrate on, as we have been to some extent, all the bits that don't feel as though they're working quite so well, all the sort of processing that goes on that causes a little bit of a rub against the sort of fabric of reality. And it's nice to start, I think, with something that for me, anyway, and I hope for other people, is a real positive.
Well, look, first of all, bro, huge congratulations. I know this is your second book on iridology, and would like to point our audience who haven't seen the original interview that myself and the brother did around iridology. I think it was sometime last year. But I think, bro, we're going to try and do a follow-up because, you know, one of the reasons that we're good buddies and work together so well with the plants and stuff is that we tend to think in a quantum way about everything. And so I think this is the way forward, as we've talked about relentlessly over the last few years since we started working together. Particularly from the point of view of quantum plant intelligence. But quantum isn't just restricted to plants or to
No.
scientists. It's also something that we can tap into. And I think that, interestingly, before we switch over to the main bulk of today's show on Rumble, and the reason we wanted to share Pete's book is that probably we're going to need quantum eyesight to make sense of some of the stuff that's going on, because it's all getting pretty far out. And yes, you know, we have the mantra here on Web of Wyrd to take a sideways and as much as possible humorous look at some of the absurdity of our world without necessarily allowing it to polarize ourselves or even our own viewpoints. We try to stay quantum, non-dual, but of course at the same time we still have our own personal things, and I think most of you out there who've watched us a long time will know what those are, but we're always trying to bring things into a place of non-duality, non-polarization, and trying to make sense of it from both sides, even if sometimes one side of the fence doesn't seem to make any sense at all, and sometimes the other doesn't either. So we're going to need Pete's book, I think, to help us through that, everybody. So for sure, please do check the links in the show notes. And if you want an iridology session with the brother here, Pete, what's the best way to do that?
Ask on the website. Go to the website and click on request consultation, and you will be taken. That will send an email straight to me as a little bit of a form to fill out, and just say, you know, general interest in iridology. There's a bit where you have to tell me all the things that are wrong with you, but as I quite often say in iridology, I might tell you what's right with you.
Right. Good. So I think that that's a really great way to start today's show, which is thinking about how to be more quantum. And rather than looking at the world necessarily through what needs to be fixed, because that's probably most of it, we can try and flip these things around and say, okay, well, let's start thinking about solutions. Yes, in order to know what a solution is to something, we sort of need to know what's broken. So there is a bit of a process there. But I think the most important thing that me and Pete always try to do is say, hey, everything is doable. Everything is fixable, because that's what the plants have always told us. That's what our spirit allies tell us. You know, that in principle, everything is fixable. The only exception to that rule, Pete, I would say, from what my plant allies have told me, is when something is physically removed from the body, like an organ or something. And even then, they're like, well, we think in the future we should be able to rebuild these for you, but the dynamics of the world we've been living in have been too dense and too heavy. But outside of that, and I think as you would probably concur, the plants have shown us that almost anything else is repairable. And even to the point where I think we might start to live longer in New Earth. But before we get into that, before we get into Davyd's views on the election, me and Pete's views on what the royal family in Britain have been up to and how they've been possibly taking taxpayers' monies for their own personal wealth and all a bunch of other things that are in the news, including climate change. Is it real? Is it manipulated? And why is Spain getting hit? As well as a few other bits and pieces to do with timelines and AI paranoia. So if you want to see the rest of the show, follow the link here in the show notes, jump over to our Rumble channel, and you'll see me and the brother getting into some of the sticky stuff and seeing if we can make sense of it very, very shortly. So see you all in a minute. Bye-bye.